everyone. Welcome to the Verkos Show Redeemed. Today on the show, we have Steve Moon all the way from America. Steve, how are you?
I answer it the same way every time. I'm blessed. How are you?
Oh, God bless you. I love it. I'm really well, thank you. And I could actually say the same about myself too. Very blessed. Glory be to God for our journeys and our trials and tribulations, and that He is present in our lives in all ways and always. That's all I can say.
Oh yeah. Every day that you wake up, there's a reason for it. And when I say blessed, I don't mean monetarily blessed. I don't mean, the ways of this world, because we're not supposed to be in the world, just of the world. I think I got that backwards. But it's just every day that you wake up, you have an opportunity to make a difference in somebody's life. So even when I go to the grocery store, somebody says, "Hey, how are you doing today?" I'll say blessed. And when people hear that, it's like, okay, I don't really hear that answer. And then, every now and then you follow up with a God is good, and you just try to be that light.
That's so true. And what a good feeling it is to have that, I can actually say, that attitude of that Holy Spirit where you actually know and you're living and breathing Him in you. I don't think a lot of people can relate to that unless you actually experience it, because I'm still fresh and new to this. From October last year, I can actually say fully dedicated and devoted on this journey, which is absolutely amazing. And I can only speak through my experiences. But your faith kicked in at a very young age, you were telling me, Steve. Do you want to let us know about that, like from how young and how your path is following the journey?
Yeah, I was saved at 5 years old, which I know is very young. And I won't say when that was, but it's been a while. I was saved at 5. My parents always had me in the church. My dad was a deacon. My mom always sang in the choir and stuff like that. But my sister and I were raised in the church, and we were raised with faith and just, 5 years old, I was also in the first grade. I started young because I guess at one point in my life I was kind of smart. But I could just tell, and then I just knew something was different, because the older I got, I was still in the church, all like middle school, high school, and elementary school, middle school, high school. But I could always tell that I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the sermons. I enjoyed the preaching. I didn't enjoy Sunday school that much, but I enjoyed the preaching, the sermons, the music, every bit of that. And where some of my friends were doing more secular stuff, and I just never really got into that world. I wasn't a holy roller, quote unquote, but I knew that my faith belonged in church. When my other friends were out doing high school stuff, middle school stuff, I just enjoyed being part of the church, being part of the Christian school that we founded. And
also with the Christian school, because I know that I went to Sunday school too, a very short period of time when I was young with my mum. But did you actually know it was a relationship with God, or did you just go by scriptures or what the worship was? You felt it, because I know with me, my mum taught us about religion. We didn't read the Bible. It was all Greek. She was Greek and she didn't know how to speak English. So it was a Greek Bible. So we didn't know how to read or write Greek. So it was all Greek. So she just explained it to us. So it was never a relationship that I understood from young. I thought it was just the Bible and attending church. Was that the feeling you had growing up, or did you actually have that deep connection and relationship with Him? Because that's what I've come across now, where it's in a relationship.
With me, I think it was always the relationship. You always spoke to me. God, I love music. My mom singing and just being involved with the church and singing in the youth choir and just stuff like that. I could just tell it was a relationship, because when we founded the school, and we can get into this later, I was in the 8th grade, and that's as high as the school went. And then every year they added a grade every year. So I was a senior every year until I had to go back to public school when my dad lost his job. But anyway, I could just tell that God was using me and other people in the church, because we were building the church and or the school, and we were putting lockers in, and we were going to the college nearby, Birmingham Southern College, and they were donating library books and desks. And we were literally building the library and painting the school and coming up with the mascot name and all that kind of stuff. And I could just tell, this isn't just me doing something I enjoy. This is God working through me. And my mom, one of the first they hired. And I could just tell that God has just almost anointed, for lack of a better word, what was going on. And I just loved that. And then again, a lot of my friends were like, oh, I'm not doing that. I don't want to do that. But I could just tell, for me, the joy came in giving and doing and developing, nurturing
Oh,
that
how good.
relationship.
Wow,
Yeah.
the giving part is amazing, especially when you're in a position like I know I always talk through my circumstances now. The more obedient you are to him and you do listen, the more he gives and the more you're able to give as well. You're actually able to receive, and give as well. And it's a
Yeah.
state of, I can't explain, this has happened to me recently where, because I'm so obedient to him, I just find that he keeps blessing me. But at the same time, I've got enough to bless another as well. So I've noticed it's in about the giving where you get so much joy and happiness and be able to give freely without even thinking.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a beautiful feeling.
And what it is, and it's hard to explain that to people because I told this to my daughter the other night. She just graduated from nursing school, and she's now a nurse, and she passed all of her tests. I'm proud of her for that. But I told her this.
Congratulations.
Well,
Beautiful.
success. I told her this. I said, Abby, success is not measured by the job or your paycheck. Success is measured by those that you give to, those that you bless, those that you reach out to. That's how you measure. And it's not even the world's success. It's the success in that I'm doing something, because we tend to measure things by the world standards, but we don't need to measure them by that because this world is only temporary. We need to measure God's standard, and God is like, look, you can be a nurse 40 hours a week, that's fine, but show me what you do those other whatever hours are left during the week, and that's where you make that difference, and that's where we are that light in a dark world.
So it's so true. Even with me, I noticed like I always put him first in everything. Like I've just learned about tithing now. So I just say to him, where would you like me to tithe this week? And oh my gosh, I'm just in awe. The way he leads me, where he leads me. And it's without hesitation, without even thinking twice about it. You just know when you allow him to lead you, which is
Sure.
an amazing journey for me now. I can say so many stories, but it's not about me today. It's about you. So tell me, with the journey, like coming to your teenage years, like you said, you always had it in you to be able, and you felt like you were different. Did you ever go down a road where you were tempted, where you thought, you know what, I'm just going to let loose and just do something like, randomly or out of the blue, or were you always obedient?
Oh, no. I was not always obedient. I went through, I don't want to say a rebellious stage because I've always been kind of a rebel. I march to the beat of my own drum even today. I don't follow the crowd. The crowd's drinking beer on Friday nights. I don't care about that. I'm going to the skating rink and I'm dancing and break dancing and stuff like that.
Yeah, good on you, man.
I still break dance, by the way, but I don't want to show that. I'll do that later on another show. But no, when my dad was my hero, and when he lost his job, he was my baseball coach growing up, and he was always there for me. I mean, he was just the perfect dad. He was the dad that came home from work and we'd pitch baseball while mom is inside fixing dinner. The very traditional family. And then all of a sudden, when he lost his job and he had to start working nights, I was 13, 14 years old, and then my mom had to start working teaching, and so she was always tired when she came home from work. But by the time she got home from work, my dad was leaving to go to work, and he wouldn't get home till 4 o'clock in the morning because he was working 12-hour shifts. And it just took something away from me, not spiritually, not my relationship with God, but it just made me just so sad and just depressed. And I went down the road. I won't deny any of this. I started drinking in high school, not like everybody else. All my friends were partiers and getting drunk and going to football games and all this kind of crap. And that's not me. That was not me. I would go to my friend's house and we would just drink liquor and we would turn on the music and we would break dance and play pool. And that was our thing. Call it partying if you want to, but it wasn't partying in the sense like everybody else. It's just that here's our little bunch of people not doing like the norm. So yeah, I was rebelling, but I was going to church on Sundays. And all right, so I'm 16, 17 years old and I'm smart. I'm not going to drink and drive. So I'm going to get my bicycle and ride over to my friend's house. and I'll drink with my friend or whatever, and then I'll ride my bicycle home, and I want, number one, I won't wake up my mom, and two, not that she would have cared anyway, and two, I won't get a ticket because I lived in a little small town anyway. Everybody knew everybody, and you were always close no matter how far away you were. But anyway, so, I drank, and then I was going to church on Sundays, and then God just hit me at the most when I was like 16, 17 years old. He said, I want you to listen to me. Because I was the board operator for my church. And no, I guess it was when I was 19. So I drank for about 2 years. And it wasn't all the time. I don't want anybody to think that, but it was consistent. And it was because I was just feeling that pain, and how can I deal with it? So then at about 19 years old.
It was like you had that close-knit, perfect family, and that was just stripped away from you. And, you didn't know how to deal with it. So you turned to that, which, I get you. Yeah.
So then at about 19 or 20 years old, I had a party at my house. My parents were out of town. And, I had I never liked beer. I always liked liquor. So I had too much liquor because I was drinking all day long that day. And I was like, and part of it was, I was such an introvert, and I knew I was different because my friends at church didn't even like church. They were there because they had to be, but I loved it. And so I couldn't relate to them outside the four walls of church or anything like that. So I had a party, and I knew I didn't even want to. I knew I was done at this point. I knew that I was done, but you know what I'm going to do? Get one for the road. So I lived in my parents' basement because we had in America it's called a ranch style house. We had a house with a full basement. So my dad converted half of that full basement into a bedroom, a workout room, and a den for me, and a little pool table in there. Wrong thing to give a teenager whose parents are never there. So I had the party. It was on a Saturday night. I remember it like it was yesterday. And the deacon, which I won't say his name, but I know it just like that. The deacon's daughter lived down the street a couple of blocks away, and she and her boyfriend came to my party. And I knew they were there, and I didn't care. Well, the next day was Sunday, and I was there doing sound for my church. And so her dad came up to me, and I could just tell by the look on his face. And he shakes my hand, and he says, Steve, so how'd it go last night? And I told him by his first name. I said, I said, I was done even before I started. I said, I'm not doing that anymore. This is not me, saying I'll quit. I was quitting before I did it because I could tell that God was saying, how can you sit here and do the sound for your church and be part of the ministry at your church where you built the school, but on the weekends, because of your rebellious nature, you're drinking. So I stopped drinking and doing any of those things at 19. And I was like, I'm done now. And then
that's the most tempting years of your life when everyone is doing it at 19 that haven't even, oh my gosh. What happened after that? So you never turned back onto alcohol or any partying or?
Not till later, and that's a little bit part of the testimony. But no, I was done with that. I was in college. I didn't know what I wanted to major in. I knew I was creative. I knew God was calling me to be a preacher. I tell you this now on straight face. I could tell because my uncle was a preacher, and I was always told, don't be like the world. Don't be like the world at all. That's why I don't care about money. I just care about my needs being met. And 100% of the times in my life, my needs have always been met.
Wow.
I don't like money. I don't like anything to do. I don't like status. I don't like anything that the world says that I should like. I laugh at that. I don't like anything in the world. I like what I can do to make the world better. So I stopped doing
the Bible too. That's in the Bible too.
Oh yeah. Oh no. And see, I knew that. I knew that.
Don't be of this world. Anyone that loves everything of this world, they don't love God. Because that's amazing. And you did that, and that was instilled from young in you, which is fantastic. So you always had that sort of like guiltiness when you did go off the wagon a bit too. And that's what happens when you're so into it. Because I notice even now with me, every little thing I'm cautious of because I know that I don't want to let down the Lord. I don't want to go down a path where I was before. Those days are done. They're finished. That was left on the cross for forgiveness, like gone, finished. Now it's like the New Testament, which I'm just learning now. It's about leaning on Him and let Him do it for you. And we were discussing this before we got on this interview, which is amazing. I'm finding my life shifting very fast and very quickly the more I have the understanding of this, which is amazing. So when you were in high school, did you knew you wanted to be a filmmaker or go down that path? When did that come along in your life?
I guess while I was in college, because again, I didn't know what I wanted to do, because I started off, okay, I'm going to be a psychology major like everybody else, you know.
Oh, okay.
Because when you're raised to go to college, they're like, my parents never said this is what the world's like after there. They were just like, just graduate and you'll find a job. Okay, doing what? I don't get that, but I could always just tell it was preaching, and I was rebelling, and I should have done that. But no, when I was in college, I wanted to be a writer. I was good at writing. I was majoring in graphic design, but I was a terrible graphic designer. I'm actually a decent one now, but back then I was terrible. But I was always a good writer. I could always write commercials. I could always write copywriting for like ads in the newspaper or ads in a magazine. I was a gifted writer. I've been writing since I was in the 5th grade, and I always knew that I had a gift for writing. But as you can tell, I actually have a gift for talking too much also.
So join the club. That's why I've got a talk show.
Yeah,
that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing, Steve. We're gifted with it for a reason.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so fast forward after I graduate, I still don't know what I want to do. I got a job in advertising, but I didn't like it because, you know, everybody's like, oh, you graduate, you get an office. And when you get an office, you're big time. And so I'm thinking, okay, I'm 24, 25 years old. I've got this office, but nothing meant anything to me. Nothing meant anything to me that the world had to offer. My employer would make me go to like all these little conventions and little events that you go and you hobnob and you make relationships. I'm like, that's not me. So I finally started writing scripts and treatments and sending those in to writers' agents in Hollywood. And around 1997, I would have been 27 years old. Something I'd written had been released by 20th Century Fox, and it was a movie called Firestorm, starring Howie Long, and it was about smoke jumpers. And I was like, that's my movie. I can tell that's my movie. So I told my then wife, because she did not support me in the industry at all. So that's a different story. But anyway, so I went to the movies, and yes, indeed, they pretty much used everything in my script and made it into an action movie. Mine was more of a drama the way I'd written it. So long story short, that's how I got into the business, because I felt like God was saying, you know what? This doesn't happen to everybody. And even if it's not your film, even though everything tells you that it is, God's telling me that, okay, you've got what it takes. Now let's just make that happen. So now fast forward to 2008, when I was laid off in a marketing job, which I enjoyed, but I didn't like it. But it was, if you have to have a job, that's a good job to have. So in 2008, I was laid off, and I was like, what am I going to do now? I'm divorced. I have child support. I'm trying to find a job, but the industry's changing because digital is taking over, and I don't understand all that. And then my friend that I had made over years and years and years in LA was a producer. So in 2008, he happened to call. My last name's Moon. He's like, hey, Moon, I'm going to be in Alabama making a movie. Why don't I give you a chance? And so he brought me in, and I worked on that movie set, and it was with Nicolas Cage. Made a ton of mistakes, but because I knew what I was doing, and because my heart was in it and my abilities were in it, that was the guy's name. Richie overlooked all those because he's like, Moon, you have what it takes. Let me help you. So he became my mentor, a producer from LA, and I've been doing it full time since 2008. And like I said earlier, the jobs have always been there. The money has always been there. God has always provided. And for your entire audience, for the audience, if you have any non-believers in there, this is a way to make you a believer, because God did provide those leads or those needs, because Richie came to me. He came to Alabama. He could have chosen any state, but he came here, and he happened to know me through the independent films that I was producing prior to knowing him. So it just all worked out, and I haven't looked back. I do look back and wish that I had made better decisions and maybe been a preacher, but again, I get long-winded. All that said is I wouldn't trade the mistakes if it means that I've helped somebody else or brought somebody into salvation, which is hard for me to do face to face. But on something like this, I can invite people to the fold all day long. And please, it's okay.
So, you know, Steve, I'm the same way too. Like, I find in everyday life, it's because we're busy and we're caught up in everything that we do. Like, I work 2 jobs and then I do this as well. And I think, and I've realized it's through my show and through all the postings I do on all social media platforms is how I'm contributing back and to help others and to bring, you know, people to salvation in Jesus Christ and to turn to God. And I've realized that sometimes I punish myself and I think, God, what more can I do? And then I realize this is what I'm meant to be doing. It's through interviews and then through social media interacting. And by the way, I'll share the news with you on my show too. I hit 1K subscribers on YouTube, so I can go live on YouTube there. So I'm really excited. Yesterday I hit it. So I'm really, really excited. That was from June last year. I activated it again after 3.5, 4 years actually of social media. So to do it 1K is a big thing for me, and I can go live so that way I can contribute more to the audience as well. There where I can get, just from the comments coming up and being on the show, you know. So I'm excited. Another stage of my life and journey. But God, again, that's God's doing. Like, I remember I started my YouTube channel last year. It was only 83 people, not even that. That was from the past. Like, how can from June to now, like 1K, like, and it's rising every day. Like, you can't say God's hand's not in it. You know, when God's hand's in it, anything you're doing just excels.
Exactly. And it's going to grow. Absolutely. Definitely.
And not only that, he leads you to it all. And I kind of, you know where I'm going with this. It's just like you're put in the right place at the right time at the right moment. He orchestrates it, and like you, and it just happens like that. And then when he does, it happens really quickly. And then it's just like, but you've got to always be grateful and remember who's brought you, how far you have come as well, and be obedient to him too, because that's what I'm learning now big time, is being obedient.
The hard part. That's the hard part, because we all have that human nature. We're dead to sin, but we still have that human nature, and we have to fight that. And you know what? I wanted to say this in regard to what you were just saying. We're in a spiritual warfare. I mean, there's only 2 things in this world, and that is good and evil, and anybody else can sugarcoat it all they want to and say, oh, it's this or it's that, or, you know, it's whatever the soup du jour is. For example, you know, what are we griping about today? Well, we can gripe about anything, but it's good and evil. And I say all this to say this: what Satan intended for bad, God uses for good, and we can relate that in today's world, especially because when digital came around, when YouTube, when Facebook, when all of those came around, you look at TikTok and you look at just the vulgarity and the nastiness. Satan thinks, okay, I've won, because look, we've got 1 million subscribers of this girl on TikTok that wants to be a boy, or whatever it is that, because I don't like singling anything out because we've all sinned. I'm just saying that you tend to get like 1 million followers for being the most vile, gross, whatever version of a human being that you can be. And guess what? We can use that same technology. Like you can use that technology, which is what you are doing. And you are reaching those same people. And when the digital world changed the film business, because when it was film, nobody could afford to be a filmmaker except for rich investors and rich producers. But when the digital camera came out, all of a sudden you can make movies on your camera. And there's so many networks out there now. There's Tubi, there's YouTube, there's Hulu, there's all those. And now there's Christian networks. So Satan may think, oh, well, I just won with TikTok. I just won with all of these gross, disgusting things. Well, no, you didn't, Satan, because we're counteracting that. And
love it. It's so true. I've always said social media, you can use it for good or you can use it for bad. The choice is yours. We've been gifted with this technology. Now, how are we going to use it? It's simple. That's with everything in life. How are we going to use it? Do we use it for good or do we use it for bad? And like you said, we're in the times now where the world is gone chaotic. It's either you're on the good side or you're bad. That's it. That's it now. There's no in between. There's no and ahhing now. I always call it and ahhing. There's no, no. It's either this or that. It's black and white now. That's all it is now. Yeah, it's really strong and very prominent now. And, you know, now with the revelations, we're actually living in revelations now. So this is do or die, as they say.
Yes. And look at this. Look at COVID. Satan throws out COVID. He's like, okay, I'm going to hit him with this. Boom. I'm going to throw COVID out, and nobody's going to go to church anymore because if you breathe on somebody, you're going to die. Okay, I'm not scared of that. I'm not scared of that. I serve a much more powerful than that. I'm not scared of it. Besides, guess what, Satan? I may not be able to attend church, but I've got this phone right here, and I can give out messages to people that are going to reach far more people than the members of my church. And guess what? The members of my church are saved. I'm going to do something that's going to be out there for the public to see. So, Satan, you lost again, boy. Anyway, sorry, I get excited.
Oh, I love it because you know why? I'll tell you. Before it hit COVID, I remember I had a contract overseas that I was supposed to go to for my show with a network. And COVID hit, couldn't go. So that's why all the delay was and everything. And then finally, come May last year, everything was, the restrictions were off, everything was happening. They're going to say, she can come, we can start your show, blah, 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 but you have to get vaccinated. I was like, what? They go, no shot, no show. I go, what? After 3.5, 4 years waiting for this in progress, like I lost everything in the progress of all this, mind you, everything. I hit rock bottom, not 1 cent to my name. And I gave up everything for this dream. And when they said that, it was like my whole world collapsed. And then I had to pick myself up 3 days into it. I said, no, you know what, God? I'm going to be true to me because I know who you are in my life, and I'm going to be true to you and stick by my truth. I'm not going to allow that to get to me. I have to say no. So I said no. And then a friend of mine told me, pick up your show again where you left it. I said, but people think I'm going to America. I go, it doesn't matter what people think. It's where you left your show. You started up again. And then lo and behold, I think it was May or end of May, June last year, I started filming again. And then when I did start filming, I noticed it was all good. It was picking up quickly. I was doing celebrities and everything. I don't know where they even came from. I go, I'm a nobody. And I just started my show again on YouTube and Facebook and that. How do they want to be on my show? I never questioned it. But then something happened in the new year. I had a break. I started New Year again, and I had a guest on my show, Steve. I nearly freaked out. I had a guest on my show, and they were a Freemason, and they announced it on my show.
Ooh.
And I was like, because I said to God, if this show is not for me, take it away. If it's for me, guide me and lead me where I'm supposed to go. Because I got a bit frightened because I've heard about it. I don't judge anyone, each to your own, what you want to believe, what you want to do, but I know the meaning behind them and everything. And then I was like, oh, wow, here's me being a born again, and I've got this. It's not the way I wanted to go down, the road I wanted to go down. So then I said, God, take it away if it's not meant for me. If it is, show me and guide me where I need to take this show. Lo and behold, I didn't feel like filming anymore. I had about 2 weeks off, and then all of a sudden, Kareem, an actor in America, contacted me and said, listen, I've got a really good girl that you can have on your show. She's faith, like she's got so much strong faith and everything. It's based on her faith. And I go, oh my gosh, that's when I registered to change my show to a faith-based show. Now, come on, man. You can't say that's not God's doing. You know, like I let him lead me. And I thought, oh my God, faith-based, that makes sense. That way I don't have to deal with anything that I'm uncomfortable with, and just have a show and a platform where people can speak their truth and their experiences with their testimonies that they found salvation in Jesus Christ and God, and they've changed their lives around. And I'm thinking, oh my God, that's what happened to me, and I've got to share my journey with them. And then someone inboxed me on Facebook and said, why don't you call your show Redeemed? And I go, oh, wow, because I got redeemed last year. I'm thinking, oh, even better. So now I've called it the Verkos Show Redeemed. Now, that's all God's doing. Like, you've got to see the bigger picture, how he led me. And I was glad I didn't go down that path in America at that time, because I was so naive and gullible. I probably would have been amongst it without even realizing what I was amongst.
Yeah, no, that's how God works, because sometimes I'll look and say, wow, this door closed. Why did this door close? And protecting you. There was a movie that came here that I've been helping for the past year that they ended up produce. I'm not. You know what? I'm not even going to say anything about that because let's just say that I'm just glad that God closes doors, because when He closes
Yeah.
some, He opens others, and you have so much better opportunities. Because since then, I've been like, I would rather produce my own faith-based, smaller budget films and get the word out there, get the message out there, than be a part of other people that are doing things that they shouldn't be doing. Like, you know what? It's one of the. It's just like what you said. It changes your perspective on things when there's
Oh, yeah.
close, and
Oh, yeah.
sometimes you question why. And we're not supposed to know why. We're just
That's
supposed to
right.
know. Trust me, I got you on the next one.
Yeah. And that's what happened with me in the show. I got confronted with it. And literally, Steve, I was 3 days away from being homeless in October last year.
I've been there myself. I was homeless for a while.
I'm laughing now because I always say to people, at that time I thought I lost everything, but I have gained so much more out of this experience and this journey now. Like, to think from October to now, I've got a roof over my head, I pay my rent, I've got 2 jobs I love, I'm doing my show, I'm doing everything I love, I've got time for everything. Like, He's got me in a place where, and I get to spend time with Him as well. Like, I'm in awe with my whole life now. And to think that I felt I wouldn't be able to come back after that. I really did. I thought, I've lost everything. How can I this? And at the time here in Australia, it was very hard to get a job without being vaccinated. So very hard. It took me months and months to find a job. Then I finally found a job. And then after that, like, I was blessed. I put it in God's hand and it all happened. And yeah, so I know God's bigger picture is always been about protecting me, guiding me and leading me, all because I've chose Him, So yeah,
Exactly.
it's a blessing. And like you said, it's not about the material world. It's not about the world. It's about you doing with your gifts He's given you, is doing good into the world and sharing it with the world. So people can, how can I say it? Like, I'm in the stage where I'm in the New Testament a lot now, in the New Testament big time, understanding it all and learning to lean on God and not on my own understanding and not by my will, but by His. And I find that your path is easier because in the New Testament, it's about following that journey where you do lean on Him. He takes away. Yeah, like, I'm in awe with it all. I'm like, wow, God, I love this. And it's being patient. You've got to have patience too, because the flesh wants it. He wants it now. You know what I mean? So it's about being patient and just not losing the joy of the journey as well, and by sharing all this with the world as well, because this is where the joy lies, is in sharing with it all, and the knowledge of the universe of God, how He created this universe and how He's placed us here. And all we have to do is just be obedient to Him, and then all the glory to us and to Him. And we can actually say, glory be to Him, So, yeah, it's just amazing. And I'm so blessed I did wake up. I needed that wake up call. I always say you're either sleepwalking or you're either awake or you're sleepwalking on this journey. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
And I believe that you're gifted in the field that you are, to show that, number one, it can be done through faith. And number two, you've got choices. You don't always have to think that one way is the only way. No.
Yeah, no, I get that. You have to be open. You have to hear that still small voice. And I love gospel music. I love quartet music, Southern gospel. There's a group called Gold City. And I advise anybody that's listening, I don't care if you're Christian, non-Christian, go to YouTube and pull up Gold City and just listen to some of their music. And there's one of the songs where the tenor is saying, hear that still small voice. Because I think a lot of times we want to do things our way and we don't want to do things God's way. And that's our rebellious nature. But if we just sit back and we relax and we just listen to that voice, we're going to have a peace beyond all understanding.
Oh, it's so true, Steve. I'm at that piece now where the outside world does not distract me. I don't get caught up in the outside world. I don't know. It's like I have an attitude where it just doesn't exist. Like that world out there, I don't feel like I'm part of it. I'm walking and breathing and living in my own world, and that's with God. That's how I'm feeling now. I'm at that peace in my life where nothing phases me, nothing affects me, nothing, not one thing. Like
Exactly.
and it's a beautiful place to be at too. But tell me something. Have you ever had an aha moment with God, a big one, like an experience where you go, wow, like, gee, like you got blown away?
Yeah, I can't say anything about it. I wish I could tell you about it, but it was because of a movie. It was because of a film and how God reveals things to you that you have no idea are coming. And in this industry, everybody knows everybody. So I just when I got the news, I can't even say anything about it. I wish I could. There's a reason why I can't. Oh, I wish I could say that. But when the movie that I was supposed to be working on didn't work out, something was brought to my attention, and I told my wife, because we remarried, just an incredible woman. She supports the business and everything. But anyway, I got a text from somebody saying, "Hey, are you part of this that's going on?" And then they told me some details that I didn't know. And so I took myself off of a project that I was depending on. But then I found out why God didn't want me a part of that. And I'm like, I see now that could have really destroyed my reputation in the industry. And I'm being vague intentionally just because I can't talk about it. But
Yeah.
but that was a huge aha moment. I guess there's been others, but I think
That was
I
the
think
biggest, was it?
peaceful point to where I kind of understand things before that aha hits you. But when it hits you that hard, you're like, oh, that's why. Because I'll give you another example. All right, I can tell you this. This was an aha moment. I love my stepdaughter. She's great. But everybody struggles, especially in a blended family, and we all had our issues. But God led me to find out about somebody that was in her life. And I had no idea. Her mom had no idea or anything like that. But because I took my daughter to a different restaurant on a Sunday than the one we always go to, she's like, no, let's go here instead. And the long story short, because we went to the other restaurant, we ran into some people. It was a Japanese restaurant. We ran into some people that were talking about all the other kids that were sitting over there and where they went to school. And they were like, no, we go to this school. We go to this high school. And I'm like, oh, really? And we started having a similar conversation. And I brought up a name. And that name happened to be the name associated with my stepdaughter. I'm like, wait a minute. I wouldn't have known anything about this person being with my stepdaughter had it not been for us coming to this restaurant. So God revealed to me something that I looked into when she was 18 years old. So by doing that, I found out some things that I was able to mentor my stepdaughter and say, okay, you might want to separate yourself from this crowd because number one, I didn't know you were with that crowd, but two, it was revealed to me. It came to me. I didn't have to ask for it. It came to me by doing that, found out and just kind of saved her from making some bad decisions. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff that it's like, wow, God, I've said this before. People want to see the miracle of Peter walking on the water. That's the miracle. I'll believe in God when I see Peter walking on the water. But you tell them a miracle like that, what are the odds? Well, I mean, it was meant to be for me to find that out. Some people will call that coincidence. But the believers, there's no coincidence. That was revealed to me for a reason. I
agree. There's no coincidences. Like I told you just before when we talked about, yes, I got up and it's like, don't be complacent. And then I know why, because he's always because I'm constantly seeking him, he's constantly seeking me. That's how I'm on this journey now. And I see his hands in everything. The more I'm hands-on with him, I see that his hand in everything that appears in my life. Like, I'll just give you a quick example because I won't keep you much longer either because I know it's getting late there. Sunday that just went past, the week before that, I said to God, I could really use a heater in this place. It's all tile, this unit, but I could really use a gas heater, And I don't question anymore how I'm going to get it, whether I buy it or it's given. No, I just say, God, I could really use a gas heater in this place. It's cheaper to run gas than electricity, like electric heater. lo and behold, this one friend of mine on Facebook inboxed me. I just made friends with her, and she happened to be a born again Greek. Like, you don't usually see that, right? Born again Greek. And she goes, oh my God, I finally met a Greek that's born again. I go, oh my gosh. Anyway, she goes, oh, by the way, do you need a heater? I was like, what did you just say? She goes, I've got a brand new heater. She took a picture of it. It's in a box. It's never been used. It's still wrapped in plastic. I haven't opened it because I got another one. I said, do you want it? She goes to me. And Steve, lo and behold, no word of a lie in my head, I'm going, oh no, God's going to deliver me a gas heater, not electric, because it's too expensive to run an electric heater. So I said to her, oh no, that's okay, right? And then the next day, she messages me and she goes, listen, and in my head, straight away, I heard just say, okay, yes to her. I heard it loud and clear, right? So before she even started talking, she goes, listen, I'm going to deliver this heater to you. This I'm going to do, I need an hour to get to your place, but I'm going to deliver it to you. And I said to her, okay. Lo and behold, no word of a lie, she had a problem giving because everyone made her feel guilty because she was such a giver all these years. And she stopped giving because everyone said, no, you give too much, blah, blah, blah. And this is what's going on in your life and whatever. And she goes, she goes, you said yes to me. I am so blessed and grateful. Thank you for allowing me to give you this gift. I go, oh my gosh. I go, thank you so much, but you're going to freak out what happened. She came an hour away, and she said she gave me the heater, but she gave me this bag full of stuff. I put a post up on it on Facebook. I was in awe because God sometimes doesn't deliver the way you want to deliver it, the gas heater. He delivered a electric heater, which number one, I found out it's economical to run, so it's not that expensive, which I freaked out. But she gave me a queen size blanket for my bed, brand new. And then she gave me 2 books, a prayer book and this other God's letters book. She gave me a teddy bear for my dog. She gave me treats for my dog. She gave me treats like chocolates and stuff. And she had this beautiful, listen to this thing, how God works. And she had this beautiful card. I thought it was a card. It was an envelope. And I read, God loves you. Jesus loves you. And God loves you. Then I thought, all right, now I just put that post up because it was still fresh and I was in awe and emotional. I put the post up. Then I sat down to read the card. I opened the card. There was $200 in there.
Oh, wow.
Come on. Steve, you can't say that's God's hands. He's me waiting for a gas heater and God's going, I've got something better for you. Just say yes to this girl.
Yeah.
So because I answered her prayer, she answered my prayer, it came bigger and better than I could ever imagine. I was like, is this for this? Like, that's why I say I see his hand in everything now. And I'm so obedient. And it's funny because a couple of days before that, I bought a perfume, my favorite perfume. Something God told me, like, don't open it. I go, okay. And usually I get excited. I want to open it, put up with my other perfume, like a little kid. And then I thought, I've got a perfume, I can afford to buy a perfume was the big thing with me. And then somebody said, no, don't open it. So I didn't open it. I left it in my cupboard. And then when she said, I'm coming in an hour, something said Coach. That was the name of the perfume, Coach. I said, oh my God, that gift is for her, isn't it? And I knew straight away. And I rang her up. I said, listen, you're on your way, but don't just come and drop it off at my place, because she was sick and she didn't want to come in because she didn't want to pass me, if I get a cold too, because she was sick. So she goes, I'll meet you downstairs where my unit is. I said, on one condition, I said, I've got a gift for you. And lo and behold, cut long story short, I gave her the thing. She was so appreciative. She sent me a gift back and she told me how much it meant, that smell and the Coach on the box, what it meant to her. And wow. So see how God works? Like what is meant for you will be meant for you. And I was like, wow. I was like, I'm still like in awe with it all, like thinking how it works, how it's a blessing. It's about giving and receiving, and it's about receiving it to you with love and giving with love. It's just like, I just can't get over it. And again, it's being obedient too. You got to listen. If I didn't listen and didn't give her that Coach perfume and I kept it for myself, I didn't feel right. I had to listen to what he told me, like, don't open it. I go, okay, got it. And I did it. But I was like, Steve, last Sunday was a blessing in disguise for me. Oh, my gosh, how he works,
No, that's my mouth's wide. I don't know if you can see me, but my mouth's wide open because it just those stories, those are the miracles, and that's what people need to understand, because the world will tell you that's a coincidence. But believers will tell you that's a miracle, and we have to let them know that these are the miracles. Because, like you said, we are in Revelation. We are living in end times right now. We need to bring more souls to be saved, because a lot of times we're trying to convert the sinners into normal people like me and you, whether they're believers or not. We just want all those ragtags to be normal. We don't care if they're saved or not. We have to share, and that's your show is an amazing example of that. And I want to share this because I have two quick stories the same way. When I was on the set of my movie Out of the Fight, which is the one that I directed about veteran suicide, which is out right now on Amazon Prime. Anyway, when I was on that set, I was
Congratulations.
we were on set and I needed a generator. We called it a little putt-putt, but we needed a generator, and I didn't have one, but I had budget for one to rent or to buy. And we're like, why don't we just go buy one? And so I did. And so we had the generator for the whole show. We called it a show, not a movie. But then when the show was over, when the movie was over, my guy that does DIT, which is basically just transferring all the footage from the memory cards on the cameras to the computers and that kind of stuff, I just told Kevin, I said, I don't need this generator. Why don't you keep it? And he just looked at me and his mouth kind of dropped. He said, what? And Kevin's a believer also. But he was like, what? And I said, keep the generator. He said, why are you giving me this generator? I said, because I don't need it. I need you. And the next time I hire you, you'll have the generator. And he said, well, Steve, you won't believe this. I've been needing a generator. And I said, every time like this happens, I share.
Hey.
So he needed a generator. All right. So now one more quick one. I wasn't working for a while. I was waiting for another movie to come up, and we had somebody that was not in our family. We're friends with a lot of broken families because we're a broken family, but we're beautifully broken. But anyway, there was a family that was friends with my daughter and my stepdaughter, went to the same school. Well, it was a family of four, and they had one car between all of them. So how were the kids getting to school? They were of age to drive. How was mom getting to work? Dad's just doing everything in one car. So I wasn't working, and I said, well, Renee, that's my wife. I said, why don't we just give them one of our cars? I'm not working. I don't need it. And I said, God will provide when the time comes. Yeah. So we gave our car. We went down to where the lady works, and we said, here's the keys. Just, put it in your name. The car is yours. So we gave her our car. Well, about a week or two, I don't remember the timeline. Don't hold me to that. But within a couple of weeks, I get a phone call from Richie. And Richie's like, hey, Moon, I need you down here in Mobile, Alabama, to come work on the show. Well, for the first 3 or 4 days on set paid for me a car that my neighbor down the street happened to be selling. And wow. I was like, Richie, can I do prep from Birmingham first or something like that? So basically, I was able to buy with less than 1 week's paycheck, the car that my neighbor, he's also in my Sunday school class at church. Before I was teaching Sunday school to youth, I was in Sunday school. Anyway, so he said, yeah, it's yours for X amount of dollars. And I said, well, that's what I get on my first paycheck. And he said, well, it's yours. So I was able to have a car and go to Mobile and work. And then the first few days, send him money for the car because it's always there.
Wow.
And again, those are the miracles. That's not coincidence. That's God. And people need to see that, because I think, and I want to. I know we're about to have to wrap up because we're long on time. But here's what I want the non-believers to see. I see videos on Facebook all the time, these memes or whatever they're called, of the younger crowd arguing with people like Charlie Cook or other believers, and they're questioning the existence of God and why would God allow things to happen or whatever. But here's the thing. You go through every trial and tribulation, whether you're a believer or not, you're going to go through trials and tribulations. Well, why would God allow that? Because you know what? You're measuring things by earthly standards. I would go through everything I went through knowing that eternity is waiting for me. I don't care that I lost a job. I don't care that the last movie I didn't work on. I don't care about anything that I went through that broke me, because, well, why would God allow you to go through? Maybe He allowed me to go through, share it with you, and then you see that I still had my head up high, and I walked through that valley of the shadow of death, and I shone my light which was not my light, but it was God's light going through me. And if I can go through everything that I went through, when I'm holding a gun right here to my chin, ready to blow my brain, well, my brains aren't in my chin, but ready to just end it all. And my 13-year-old stepdaughter just doesn't even wrestle the gun. She just walks up and takes the gun from me and says, it'll be okay. That's the message, is this is the temporary world. Eternity is waiting for me, and I will go through everything that I have to go through, so that if you just hear part of my testimony and say, wow, you know what, he's right. It's not about this world. It's about that afterworld. And I want that salvation, and I want that joy, because if everybody knew everything that I went through and I'm still walking right now, they would say, wow, he had a roller coaster ride compared to me. He was downhill all the way.
That's like me, Steve. If everyone knew what I went through, that's why I created my show. I thought, I don't want people to go through what I went through. I think there's enough suffering in this world. And because I've gone through what I've gone through, I thought, you know what, I've got to do something to help humanity and to bring God's children to him.
On the other side of the cross is where we are going to be. And it's going to be either down here or it's going to be up here. All of this other stuff is temporary. So whenever anybody questions, why does God allow, blah, blah, don't even ask that. We live in a sinful world because of original sin. Get past that and know that there's a God and there's a Jesus that died for you, that he loves you much. And if you just give him that, he will give you a world beyond this world.
I agree with that. And also, because I was going to ask you, what message have you got to deliver to the world? You've summed it up. But another thing is too with messages, and let's be honest, like I find that now that the more I lean on him, the more he does make my life easier. So your life does become easier when you trust and let him lead you as well. When you go to him with everything, doesn't matter how small, how big, how much, he wants that from us. He desires that from us. He's hungry to hear us talk to him. And, you know, this is what I've realized, and I'm hungry for him too. And it's like, I know I can't make a decision without him anymore, because I know that when I make a decision with him, it's for my highest good. So I'm not caught up of this world. So your life does become smoother and easier. It's just when you drop your guard a bit, it's just when you've got to just pick yourself up again. But those moments come fewer and lesser the more you're into him and the more you seek him. This is my journey. This is how I'm living my journey now, my path, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And I'm so grateful that I woke up. That's all I can say. But Steve, one more thing that will shock you too. I have to share a story. I know we've got to go, but I hope I'm not keeping you. But I had experience before the heater, the week before that, I had to have $800 saved. I had to have it on a Friday, right? And it was Easter weekend. It was Good Friday and Monday. So I had 2 days off work. So that's like pay of, say, just over $200 less in my pocket. I had 500 saved. I thought, you know what, I need food. So I'll take 100 out. I was left with 400. And it was Monday, trusting the Lord. I said, you know what, God, you've got this. I didn't question it, didn't ask, nothing, left it. Come Thursday, I was still 400. And I'm going, oh, my gosh. I said, 800 by tomorrow. Oh, you know what? It is what it is. That's the attitude I had. Lo and behold, one of my jobs, I had to pay $100 towards buying one of the equipment that I needed for the job. And she goes to me, oh, don't worry about the $100. It was a quiet week. Keep it. So I ended up saving from that to $50. So it went to $650. I was $150 short Thursday. Come Thursday night, I go to the gym right at night, and I saw this guy. He's a born again. Anyway, I want to go into detail, but I mentioned the word, and he goes, what did you just say? And I said to him the word, and he goes, oh, my God, it's meant for you. I go, what are you talking about? What time are you going to be leaving? I said, oh, about 8 o'clock. He goes, wait here, I'm going to come back. He went to the bank. He took money out, he came back, and he gave me $150. No word of a lie.
That's Thursday
night. It was delivered $150, and I had the 800 for the next day. Come on, man. I was like, oh, my goodness. I was like, yes, I'm coming across all these moments now.
Now, those are the miracles. Those are the Peter walking on water, and we have and let people. That's how it doesn't work that way every time, but it works that way every time. It works on God's in time, on time, every time for God's timing. That's how it works.
God, you don't question it. You just always say, "Now, God, I'll leave it to you. and just surrender it. And you also are not meant to figure it out and not have attachments, and you're meant to just know that he will deliver, and that's it. No questions, how, when, why, no, just let it go, and he will deliver in his timing, and it's amazing. And I had to share that last one because the last
one too. I love that.
Every week there's always something. I'm like, that's why I meant to do this show, and it's taken me down this road to share it with everyone too out there. But anyway, yeah, but Steve, it was so nice talking to you. I'm so blessed and grateful to have you on my show. Thank you for sharing what you have with us. I really appreciate you.
Oh no, I appreciate you. Thank you. This was beautiful. This made my night, just sharing and listening to you.
Oh God bless you. Same here. I've learned more about you too, and your faith, and your strength in your faith too. Which you know what? All I can say is God bless you, Steve. Thank you so much, and thank you for your time.
You bet.
Okay, stay in touch. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.